Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to be unboxing 3 new Middle Eastern fragrances from the house of Khadlaj. So let's jump into it. Alright, so today I'm going to be giving you my unboxing and first impressions of 3 fragrances from the brand of Khadlaj, which comes from Aroma Concepts. They are the ones who sent me these fragrances, so links will be down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these out. Quite curious about this brand. They only recently came onto my radar. Been hearing some good things, but I haven't been hearing many things, so we're just going to dive into these suckers and see what they're all about. So let's quit screwing around and let's get into it. Alright, so first up from the house of Khadlaj, we got La Fede Intoxicate. You can scoop this sucker up for $41 at Aroma Concepts, and I can almost tell from the box presentation on this what this might be cloning, so let's just find out, shall we? All right, so there we have the box presentation for La Fede Intoxicate. Nice thick cardboard box, has the slide off cover. Nice little bit of a texture to this cardboard as well. Oh, the bottle is crooked, embarrassing. Sits in this nice little podium, has that mirror. It looks a little similar to some other fragrances. Slides out just like so. So overall, nice box presentation to that one. And here we have the bottle, and this is pretty much what I was thinking it might look like. Has a little bit of similarities to Angel Share by Kilian. Nice thick heavy bottle. This has a lot of weight to it. Nice little kind of pattern on it with the gold plate on the front. That is a plate, yes. Big fat cap to this with kind of a nice little, I don't even know what you'd call that, a plastic little kind of marble pattern on there. It is a cheap plastic, but it does have some weight to it, a little bit of thickness to it. And the atomizer on this sucker, good atomizer on this, will get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right off the jump, just smelling this in the air, it's an Angel Share cologne for sure. Get that booziness, get that spiciness, get that sweetness. A little bit spicier than like Hamra, for example. It's kind of in the neighborhood of the Paris Corner Fire Your Desire. But it is nice, sweet by Kilian Angel Share clone. So let's get this on paper, see if there's any nuances to this, if it's a little bit different than some of those other clones. So right off the jump off paper, this actually has almost a bit of a fresher style of opening off the paper at least. It has like almost a bit of a watery feel, a little bit kind of a milky feel to it versus that kind of like very warm, heavy spiciness that you get from like the Hamras and the Fire Your Desire. Still has that same scent profile. It has that spiciness and that sweetness that's coming through. And this has a little bit more booziness than I'd find I get in Hamra, that cognac kind of notes coming through. But it feels just a little bit lighter and fresher, like a little bit more kind of watery, but not watered down, if that makes any sort of sense. Almost a little bit kind of more citrus that's poking through, like some bergamot that's kind of poking through a little bit. It has a little bit more kind of an uplifting and invigorating style of opening versus those other style of clones. But like I said, it's very much that Angel Share DNA that's running through it. As this is opening up a little bit more sweetness is pushing forward, but you're really starting to get that cinnamon that's coming forward, so it really has that warm spiciness that's coming forward. I do find the sweetness is dialed down a little bit. This is, again, almost a little bit kind of watery style of sweetness. There's some like coconut coming through, caramel, vanilla that's worked its way in here, but it's not as like sickly sweet as like Hamra can be for some people. This is toned down a little bit more. This does have kind of a balancing of that kind of freshness with that sweetness, but that spiciness is definitely coming through fairly strong. It's probably the more dominant accord at this moment is that spiciness. Yeah, very smooth fragrance, really well blended. There's no kind of like synthetic sort of feel to this or like screechy edges or overly cloying sort of notes coming through in terms of like that sweetness. It's not like overly nose tickling spicy, just really well rounded, really well blended, has this smooth quality to it. So overall, this is pretty nice in the opening so far. But let's get to the dry down and see what we're dealing with. All right, so we are back with the dry down of Khadlaj La Fede Intoxicate. It's been about an hour. Let this dry down, do its own thing here. Not a whole lot has changed. It's still pretty much that same scent profile, but it is a lot spicier and a lot sweeter than Hamra. When I was waiting for this to dry down, I did pull out Hamra and I did pull out the Fire Your Desire by Paris Corner. Hamra is definitely a lot sweeter than this one. This one does lean a little bit more on the kind of the masculine side of that kind of by Kilian Angel Share style of DNA. Very much has that kind of cinnamon that's coming forward. A little bit more kind of a wood note pokes through on this one, that coming from that base, but it still has that vanilla. It still has a caramel, praline, a bit of an almond note that's pushing through, some plum and some ylang-ylang that's in there. So you do get this kind of floral sweetness that works through. But like I said, it's like toned down in comparison to the other one. The Fire Your Desire, I find is fairly similar to this one. It's again, not as sweet as Hamra is. Has a little bit more of that spice, a little bit more kind of a warmth going on to it. But I do find this one just a tad spicier, and like I said, does lean a little bit more masculine. Still a unisex fragrance, but I do find this leans a little bit more masculine in comparison to Hamra, which I find to be very much a unisex fragrance, very sweet, gourmandy. This one a little less so, but a really nice, like I said, smooth, well-blended fragrance. Pushing off pretty good too. Like the performance on this, I could see being fairly good. I'll have to get this on skin, test it out, see how it goes. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with this one. And for $41, I think this is pretty good. I know a lot of people have trouble finding Hamra, and it's still gotten quite a bit of hype in the community. This might be kind of a good alternative to it. So I'm gonna get this on skin. I'm gonna compare it side by side with Hamra just to see how different this is, especially off skin. We'll kind of go from there, but overall, pretty pleased with this Khadlaj. So that's what it is. That's Khadlaj La Fede Intoxicate. All right, up next, we have Khadlaj Shiyaaka. I can scoop this bad boy up for $40, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that name wrong. Shiyaaka? Something like that. Correct me down below if you know how to pronounce that properly. No idea what this is going to smell like. I have not heard anything really about this fragrance, so let's just dive right in, shall we? All right, so there we have the box presentation for Shiyaaka. Pretty straightforward cardboard box. Got a little beat up in transit, but on the back we do have the notes that are listed there. So we have top notes of petitgreen, rosemary, pink pepper, heart of ylang-ylang, neroli, orris root, and jasmine, and the base of cedar, vetiver, patchouli, and sandalwood. Sounds a little familiar. Sounds a little homage-y to me. So I don't know. Let's see what the bottle looks like. All right, there's the bottle presentation for Shiyaaka. Nice kind of fake plastic, but looks like metal, kind of studded case to this. But you know, overall thick base, nothing to it. Cap on this, cheap plastic, but it's got enough like thickness to it that it's not kind of like feeling flimsy or breakable. And the atomizer on this, not too bad, get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right off the jump, just smelling this in the air right now. Very aromatic, has this powderiness to it. A little bit of green, a little bit of floral mixed in there, fresh spiciness. So very pleasant, has a kind of mass appeal sort of feel to it. And it also has a little bit of a kind of an homage, reflection man sort of thing going on to it right now. So let's get this on paper, see what we're dealing with. So in the initial opening here, like I said, a very aromatic style of fragrance. You are getting that pink pepper that's coming through. It does have that kind of nose tickle, fresh spice going on to it. A little bit of sweetness coming from some florals, a little hint of neroli in the back, but you are getting some rosemary that's poking through. You get that kind of green, petitgreen sort of feel going on to it. Definitely has that kind of powderiness to it, that orris root, iris style of powderiness to it. Little tad a bit of sweetness that comes along with that as well. But like I said, has a very kind of aromatic, fresh sort of feel going on to it. Yeah, very fresh, powdery style of fragrance. It's not like a bright fragrance in terms of kind of like a citrus invigorating. It's got that freshness in terms of kind of like almost a kind of a clean laundry, not like lavendery sort of soapy clean, but it does have that kind of clean sort of feel, that aromatic, uplifting sort of vibe going on to it. You are getting little hints of that neroli, a little bit of other florals, some mixes of ylang-ylang that's in there, some jasmine coming through, and there is a little bit of woods that's starting to poke through as this is kind of opening up and working towards the dry down. Very pleasant fragrance. It's very enjoyable, like a very easy to wear fragrance for sure. I will say this is pushing off pretty hard, like off paper right now, and just from that initial spray in the air right now, like this is filling the room. Like I don't even have to smell the strip really to like really get my nose on this one. It's got a little bit of oomph to it, a little bit of power going on with this one, so I'm liking it. We might have a beast mode here. Yeah, really great, fresh, clean style of fragrance. Again, if you like that powdery sort of vibe, this has definitely got that orris root powderiness going on to it. Quite enjoyable so far, but let's skip to the dry down, see how this settles down, and we'll go from there. All right, so we're back with the dry down of Khadlaj Shiyaaka. It's been just over an hour. Let this settle down, do its own thing. Hasn't changed a whole lot. A little bit more woods has come through from that base. So there's a nice light airy cedar that's in there, some sandalwood, maybe a little hint of vetiver that's coming through. But you're still getting kind of that aromatic freshness that's going on, that powderiness that's kind of worked in there. The fresh spiciness is kind of dialed down just a little bit, and that powdery texture isn't overwhelming. I was a little concerned that might be something that's really going to kind of push forward and be like a very dusty, dry style of fragrance. It has that powdery nature to it, that texture, but it's not an overwhelming one. It still has that kind of green, aromatic, kind of floral, soft sweetness going on to it. Really, really quite nice. It does remind me quite a bit of Reflection Man. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a one-to-one, but it's definitely in the neighborhood. I do think that's what they were going for with this one. So overall, I'm quite pleased. And for 40 bucks, pending performance, which I think is going to do very well, because that's of the 3 fragrances I sprayed today. As soon as I walked back in this room after the hour, this is the one that I was smelling the most. Next to that Angel Share, the La Fede Intoxicate, I was smelling this quite a bit. So I think the performance on this is going to be really good. Definitely going to get this on skin. I'll be doing a full review on this one, let you guys know what I think, but overall, quite pleased. That's Khadlaj Shiyaaka. All right, and last, and hopefully not least, got another one from Shiyaaka, and it's Shiyaaka Blue. You can scoop this sucker up for $40 at Aroma Concepts, and I have absolutely no idea what this is going to smell like aside from the notes that are listed on the back here, but I haven't heard anybody talk about this one, so we're just going to bust in and maybe have some breaking news here. All right, so there we have the box presentation, pretty much the same as the one we were just looking at, with the notes on the back listing aromatic, citrus, green, floral, orris, rose, ambery, musk, and vanilla. So a little bit vague. Let's take a look at the bottle. All right, so there we have the bottle, same as the last one, except this one's blue, hence the name. It's a little scuffed up too. I got some chips on there, so little rough in transit there, UPS. But I don't know, let's just see what this is like. Atomizer is probably gonna be the exact same as the other one, so what does this smell like? So right out the gate, just smelling this in the air, this has a little bit of like a La Male sort of vibe going on to it. Not identical, but it has that same kind of like vanilla powderiness going on to it, that aromaticness that's going on to it. It's in that neighborhood, that's for sure. So let's get this on paper, see what we're dealing with. Yeah, so right off the jump, right off paper, the citrus does come forward quite a bit. Lemon in there for sure, I'd say, and probably a little bit of bergamot. It's got this tartness to it, but it's also got this kind of lemony zing that's going on to it. But it's balanced off with this nice aromatics to it, like maybe some geranium, clary sage notes, maybe both kind of mixed in there. So it does have that kind of aromatic nature to it. Not sort of a clean lavender that you would get aromatic, but again, more kind of that kind of green aromatic vibe going on to it. And a little bit of kind of rosy floralness that's in there. Not a strong rose note, but it has that kind of sweet rose accord that's moving in there. And definitely some vanilla that's coming through from the base right away. A little musky, a little bit of kind of a dustiness from that orris root, maybe some amber that's poking its way through. So it does have that kind of dusty texture, has that sweetness coming through from some vanilla and from some florals, and it's balanced off right now with that initial citrus blast and those kind of aromatic, kind of green vibes going on to it. Very, very nice, very fresh, uplifting, clean style of fragrance. I think I'm gonna dial back that initial La Male sort of vibe that I was picking up. In the air, it for a moment there, it did have that kind of La Male sort of vibe, but as this is kind of drying down a little bit more, that is disappearing. It has a similar texture, maybe that similar kind of vanilla going on to it, but I don't think that's what they were trying to clone with this one necessarily. It's sort of there, but I don't think it's a La Male clone. This is interesting. I've smelled this before, but with a twist. This is something very familiar, very kind of designer fragrance, but has a little bit of a twist to it. So it's a little bit different than what I was remembering, but I can't put my finger on it at this very moment of what this quite smells like, but it is enjoyable. It has that mass appeal to it. It has that kind of familiar scent profile going on to it, and it's quite enjoyable. So let's skip to the dry down, see how this kind of develops, and we'll go from there. All right, so we are back with the dry down of Khadlaj Shiyaaka Blue. Been just over an hour, let this kind of settle down, do its own thing. Now that I've kind of had some time to kind of think on this and really get my nose kind of gripped onto the scent profile, if you will, it's a blue style of fragrance, and I think it's a bit of a twist on Bleu de Chanel, to be quite honest. Maybe has a little bit of that kind of additional sweetness, like an Invictus-y style of sweetness, mixing with that kind of Bleu de Chanel kind of shower jelly, fresh, aromatic, like a little bit of citrus sweet kind of going on to it, but it has that kind of Invictus-y sort of vibe going on to it. So that's probably the best way I can describe this right now. That powderiness that was there initially has dialed back quite a bit. So like I said at the very beginning, where I thought this kind of had a little bit of that La Male sort of vibe going on to it, I think it was more that kind of like Invictus-y style of sweetness that was coming through that might be similar to La Male that I was picking up, but the powderiness has died down a little bit, and now this is just coming across as kind of a fresh, clean, sweet, aromatic style of blue fragrance. And it's quite enjoyable. I think this is going to be a great dumb reach fragrance, easy to wear, mass appealing, you know, very versatile style of fragrance across seasons and different occasions. And I think for 40 bucks, this is a pretty good pickup. Smooth, doesn't have any sort of like synthetic screechy edges to it. I think it's pretty well blended, and overall quite pleased. So Khadlaj, I think you did a good job on this one. So if you're into kind of blue style of fragrances, kind of a sweeter style of Bleu de Chanel, I think this might be one you want to check out. That's Khadlaj Shiyaaka Blue. All right, so there you have it. That's 3 new Khadlaj fragrances, my first impressions, unboxings. I think I went 3 for 3 on this one, to be quite honest. A good first impression of Khadlaj. I think it's, like I said, with a few of these fragrances, I think they're really well put together, well blended. They have that kind of quality to it for that price point. I think the bang for your buck, they're pretty good. Pending performance, we'll see how they do. I do think that Shiyaaka Red is going to do pretty well in terms of performance. I think the Intoxicate as well, and we'll give a test with that blue one and see how it does on my skin. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with these ones. I think they are some great fragrances there. I think of the 3, I enjoy the Shiyaaka, the red one, the most. I like that scent profile and its nice, fresh, aromatic nature, and it's spring, summer right now, so I think it's gonna be very appropriate. So I'm gonna do some full reviews on these ones, but comment down below which ones do you wanna see full reviews on first. And I will also have links down in the description to all these fragrances, and I also have a coupon code for Aroma Concepts if you wanna save yourself 10%. So I'll leave that code down below for you guys to use if you decide you wanna shop with them. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed these videos. I like doing these unboxing videos. Let me know what do you want to see in my next haul. Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love your recommendations, hidden gems, different tastes and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you all next time.